The room smelled like disinfectant and warm blankets. It was late afternoon, the kind of hour when sunlight feels tired. Slipping in through blinds without enthusiasm, my daughter slept against my chest, her face soft and swollen from birth, her breath uneven but determined. I had been awake for almost 30 hours. My husband sat beside me, one hand wrapped around mine, other resting on the plastic armrest. He hadn't let go since the delivery. Not once, even when the nurse told him he could stretch. When my father walked in, I knew it was him before I saw him. His footsteps were always too firm for hospital corridors. He was reminding the floor who was in charge. He stopped near the foot of the bed. He didn't ask how I was, didn't say congratulations. He leaned forward slightly, looked at the baby, and said, almost thoughtfully, "This one might actually make something of herself." The words floated for a second before landing. My husband's hand tightened, felt it immediately, his jaw locked. A muscle jumped in his cheek. For a moment, thought he might stand up and say everything I had never said, but he didn't. Neither did I. Had spent most of my life learning how to absorb comments like that without flinching. How to turn them into background noise. How to pretend they didn't bruise. When I was 10, he told me my grades were decent for someone like you. When I was 16, my scholarship was probably charity. When I bought my first apartment, he asked who helped me. There was always someone else in his version of my life, someone more deserving, someone more impressive, someone he could imagine being proud of. I smiled, not brightly, not sweetly, just enough to keep the peace. "Check your bank account," I said quietly. He frowned. "What?" "Just check it." He pulled out his phone with mild irritation. He was humoring a child, probably expecting nothing, probably assuming I was being dramatic from exhaustion. I watched his face instead of my daughter. At first, nothing changed. Then his eyebrows pulled together. Then he scrolled. Then he froze. His mouth opened slightly. Closed. Opened again. He looked at the screen as if it might correct itself. A nurse passed by the doorway. My husband shifted in his chair. Somewhere down the hall, a baby cried. My father whispered, "What is this?" "It's the transfer," I said. "From my company." "What company?" "The one you never asked about." He stared at me. For 3 years, been running a logistics consulting firm, quietly, from a small rented office. At first alone, then with 2 employees, then 5. Post about it. I didn't announce it. I didn't bring it up at family dinners where he talked about my cousin's promotions. Learned early that sharing good news with him was like handing someone ammunition, so I stopped. 6 months ago, his factory had nearly collapsed under debt. He hadn't told me. I found out through a supplier who also worked with me. I ran the numbers, saw the risk, I saw the consequences, and I made an offer through my company. No family discount, no emotional language, just terms. He accepted without realizing who was behind it. The transfer he was staring at was the final payment. The last installment, document that legally shifted controlling shares. My firm now owned the majority stake. He swallowed. You did this?"
Yes.
"Over time?" "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought about that." About every time he'd laughed at my little projects, every time he'd asked when I'd get a real job, every time he'd spoken about my future like it was a disappointing forecast. "Think you'd listen?" I said. Silence settled between us, not dramatic silence, not cinematic, just awkward, heavy quiet. He looked at my husband, then back at me. His voice dropped. "You could have said something." "So could you," my husband said gently. No shouting, no shouting, no lecture. My father sat down slowly in the visitor's chair as if his legs had forgotten how to work. He kept staring at his phone, refreshing the screen. The nurse came in to check my vitals. She smiled at the baby. She smiled at us. She didn't notice that something fundamental had shifted. After she left, my father cleared his throat. "No, you were capable of this," he said. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't praise. It was confusion. "Always been capable," I replied. "You just weren't interested." He nodded once. Mechanical. He stayed another 10 minutes, asked practical questions about the baby, about discharge papers, about visiting hours, normal questions. When he left, he hugged me awkwardly. His arms felt unfamiliar. "I'm proud of you," he said. It sounded rehearsed. I didn't answer. The months that followed, he changed. Not completely. He stopped making cutting remarks. He listened more. He asked before advising. Never became warm. We never talked about the past. Respect replaced cruelty. Love remained distant. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he had believed in me earlier. If encouragement had come before proof. Kindness hadn't required documentation. But then I look at my daughter, at the way she grips my finger with absolute trust. And I know something important. I didn't succeed to impress him. I succeeded because I learned to survive without his approval. The money didn't give me dignity. It revealed that I had always owned it. I just stopped letting him pretend otherwise.